Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Justin Goodbread, who's the owner of FinanciallySimple.com. Justin, welcome to the program.
Mike, man, thanks for having me, brother.
Hey, you're welcome. And, I love when I hear names of businesses or brands because there's a story behind them. And I just love how you're financially simple. That just kind of says it all, right? I mean, let's keep finances simple. I know that they can get complex, but it sounds to me like you bring simplicity and clarity to finances. So give me a little bit about your background, and then let's talk about how to simplify finances.
Sure. So I grew up in South Georgia chasing alligators and swimming with sharks down the coast of South Georgia in the swamps. I started my first business when I was 15, sold it when I was 21. After I met my bride, as you and I were just talking off the air, met my bride, and we moved from South Georgia to East Tennessee. So I'm still a Southerner. I still live in the South. We still talk funny. Moved here to East Tennessee, started two other businesses, sold both of those businesses, entered the financial world. I have three companies that I own. One is called Heritage Investors. One's called Heritage Business Advisors, and Financially Simple is my education portal. So been in business my whole life since I was 15, so I'm 41 now, so it's been a while. Financially Simple came about because working with hundreds, if not thousands, of business owners consistently over the years, I found out that we business owners, I'm putting myself in that boat because I'm a serial entrepreneur here, we business owners don't want to take a lot of time to get to the meat and potatoes. We want to dive right in, tell us what we need to know, let us process it, make a decision, and move on. And the financial world, the average financial folk out there, they are not positioned to handle me. They want to come to me as a business owner and say, hey, give me your money and I'll help you make money. And I'm like, forget that. I know how to grow money in my business, and my business can make more money than anything else. So knowing how to grow a business and selling businesses, I found myself lost in the Wall Street world, and I had to figure out a way how to communicate to my peers, my business owners out there, that there is a way to make money without Wall Street. And thus, Financially Simple was born as an education hub. We have books and courses and podcasts, and there's over 1,200 blog posts on this thing as of right now of me just teaching business owners how to double their net worth. This is what I love to say. I want to help business owners double their net worth every 3 to 5 years. And the information we have on the Financially Simple podcast and blog does that.
Nice. I'm on your website right now, and I see something that I want to dive into because every time you hear a certain topic, you're like, okay, let's talk about the same old thing, right? Whatever that might be. And I just located a page on your website that I think we could spend about 7.5 days on, and I love it, which is Strategic Debt Paydown System.
Wow. Okay.
Let me tell you why I love that. Because I personally, and I am 52, when I got out of college, I thought, hey, I'm living with mom and dad. They've got some cool stuff. I need cool stuff. So, hey, I've got a great job. I'm going to buy a house, and now I need to outfit it exactly like I came out of mom and dad's house. And all of a sudden, I'm in debt up to my eyeballs, $30,000 in credit cards, and I did the thing that everybody, seems like everybody does. Oh, minimum payment, and that's not even covered the interest hardly, and it was choking and overwhelming. And thank God that within 1 year of getting married, my wife and I were like, okay, that's it. And we literally just went on. We didn't do the Dave Ramsey snowball, but we did that concept. We didn't know that it was called that, but we paid off that small one. And I literally can see in my mind's eye, we went out to the backyard in this little rock area, and we would take that statement after we paid it off. We would take that last statement and we burned it. We were done with that. So my point is, that's the lead into my question. Business debt is is a huge thing. Personal debt is a huge thing. But if you have one or both, they impact the other. If a business owner has personal debt, that's going to impact the way you run your business. But man, if you've got business and personal debt, so go on strategic debt pay down. I love it. Let me hear your approach.
Yeah, so I think you're right on the money. I love Dave Ramsey. In fact, I read 2 books every year. Actually, I read 5 books every year, but 2 of them are finance related. One is Dave Ramsey's Total Financial Peace, and the other is Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've been reading those books since I was 16 years old. I like the outline of both those books because they're contrarian views for us.
Yes.
Dave Ramsey, he's powerful at changing people's lives. He goes in with a simple strategy that says just get ticked off at debt, pay it down, and move forward. The danger with that for a business owner is if you take the debt snowball, as you said, or the debt avalanche, or the interest avalanche, or the tax avalanche, whichever one you want to go with. There's several different ways to build a strategy. If you take that for a business owner, often what's not addressed is taxes in debt. How taxes can affect, in other words, the deductibility of interest for we business owners, how that can impact the pay down strategy. Yeah. The other thing is, as you were talking about, is sometimes we want to pay down business debt before we pay down personal debt for strategic reasons, and other times we want to pay down personal debts before we pay down business debts. So whenever you find yourself, like so many Americans have, those around the world have, whenever they're dealing with student loans and business debts, maybe we're buying something, buying a piece of equipment, a house, a car, just stuff that life happens out, we have to figure out a way how to strategically pay it down and drive the value of our business. So I wrote the course, and that's what you're referring to there, was a strategic paydown system, a course that lets business owners go through and think through the ins and outs of which way should they attack their debt.
Yeah, I love it, and the word strategically resonates with you so much. That's so really, really, really important. So here's a pop quiz question for you, and
sure.
On a personal side, personal debt, let's say, do you advise a client to pay off their mortgage?
No, I don't. But let's dive a little deeper, okay? There's a time and place for everything, and so most of the time, if I'm going to answer that question in a vacuum, I'm going to say no. Many times, though, I have said yes. So I'm not a position as a certified financial planner, multiple credentials, and national award winner. I can't just go out and make a blanket statement. I have to act as a fiduciary, which means I have to put the client's best interest ahead of whatever a media pundit may say.
Yeah.
The majority of the time, though, whenever we're dealing with our business owners, the business owners that come to us are maybe 30s and 40 years old, and they really haven't set any savings back. In fact, 80% of their net worth is in their business, and their business is not ready to sell. They can't even sell the thing. No one to pay them money for it. Statistically, only 4% of businesses ever transact for the value the business owner thinks they're worth. And statistically, only 16% of businesses ever sell. That's an amazing study. So the reason why I come back and circle way back around and say the reason why I don't tell business owners to pay their mortgage off is because in today's interest rate environment, we can secure mortgages. I've got a client that has a mortgage as low as 2.1%.
Yeah.
On the other hand, in the business world, if I'm trying to grow a business, I know through value growth, which is where I spend 70-80% of my time doubling our client's net worth every 3 to 5 years, what we're looking at there is trying to get that business to grow at 30, 40, 50% a year. So it doesn't make sense for me to take capital cash, running cost of capital, running hurdle rates, and apply it down to a 2 to 3 to 4% interest rate loan whenever I can deploy that cash to the opposite direction and have that client make a 30, 40, 50% increase in their net worth. Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Now, as they go through it, Mike, I ultimately want them to pay their mortgage off at some point.
Yeah.
But usually not whenever we're trying to drive that.
Well, and I think one thing you said made me think of something as well. Like if, let's say that you just got someone that is going, hey man, appreciate it, love you brother, but I must pay off my mortgage. And Justin goes, okay, then just let's keep this thing in mind, right? if you dump money on your mortgage by paying extra double payments, whatever, that money is paying down interest, but it's locked up. You can't ever get it back. So A, you better have a liquid savings account that you can access that money. And then B, once you get down, let's say you get the house half paid off, 3/4 paid off, whatever, set up a home equity line of credit and just let it sit. Don't access it. Don't use it, but it's there to reaccess your cash in case you ever needed it. Is that something that you talk to people about as far as liquidity?
Absolutely. So actually, I have a video on YouTube that's probably 30 minutes long where I go through the math of everything you just talked about. What happens if you pay it off? What happens if you don't? What happens if you pay it off versus invest? If you do find yourself paid off, how do you get the money out of it? So I went through a 30-minute video on YouTube explaining that. The key to life is net worth, okay? The key to life is providing assets which can care for you. A house, once we pay it off, especially if it's going to be our primary residence, what we've basically done is taken cash and buried it into the walls of the house.
Yeah.
And the only way you're going to get out of that is to sell it or create a liability position like a home equity line of credit that you can borrow against it.
Yeah.
But I pull it way back because those are, candidly, Mike, that's a pretty simple scenario to fix. If we go way back in the conversation, ultimately, we're trying to drive net worth. And if you're trying to drive net worth, you can't take an isolated singularity pundit talk show host's point of view. You have to look at the entire picture, reduce taxes, reduce inflation, reduce interest, okay? All those things are there. More importantly, you have to look at the asset side of your financial statement. And for us business owners, which I know is who I am and your podcast listeners, we have to focus on the asset side more so oftentimes than the liability side. And the largest single asset we have over there is our business. And so we better understand what it's going to take to grow that business, and more importantly, grow it where it's attractive for a buyer to purchase it.
And grow it strategically, of course, our fun favorite word, but grow it wisely because I've said this over and over, where you get some business advisor, coach, or consultant that a business goes to and says, hey, we need to scale up our business and increase our revenues. And that's wonderful. That's one piece of the equation, but it's like that old proverbial bucket with holes in it. Let's get more sales in. Yay, we got more top line revenue, but guess what? It's going right out the back door. So as you increase your sales, you need to be plugging up those holes and figuring out where those holes are. Maybe it's, your cash flow is just going all over the place. Maybe there's ways you can save money or cut back. The point is, yes, you need to have more money coming in, but you need to prevent the bad money from going out as well. Do you see that when you're working with clients and looking at their financial portfolio in business?
Yeah, so I'm going to take it a step farther backwards on that, okay? So you're dealing with basic cash flow management. I think about it in the terms of having your business appraised, okay? Yeah. So we've all had a house appraised, most of us have. Let's assume that we're now going to go to a CVGA or someone like myself, and they're going to give a formal valuation on your business. There is actually metrics that we can grade from. There's actually 256 points that you can judge a business's value from. They all stem down to 8 key areas of business, okay? The first area is planning. Second is leadership. The third is marketing. The fourth is sales. Then you have people, operations, finance, and legal. 8 key areas, okay? If you understand what causes a value of a business to increase, then you can backwards engineer and repair the business or build the business by solidifying those 256 quantifiable points. So what we do in our practice is we meet with the business owner, we go through the personal finance, and I call that plugging the holes in the boat. To me, personal financial planning is just making your life efficient. That's all it's really doing. Yeah. But now we're going to grow wealth. What we have to do is figure out where the business is today. And I can candidly make a statement, and I can honestly defend myself in court on this, that the majority of businesses in the United States of America, especially the small businesses, can double the enterprise value of our company in 3 years' time if we know how to attack the valuation metrics. So in some cases, it may be as simply as dealing with cash flow. In other cases, it may be redrafting a business plan, while yet some other cases, it may be totally redoing the operational flow of the business. So the key is as you look into your business, knowing what the value is, then having a systematic approach that tells you whenever you make these adjustments in your business, before you ever make them, I can tell you exactly what it's going to do to the value of your business. That way, you and I as business owners can say, you're telling me, Justin, if I were to do X, Y, Z, it would yield a $46,000 increase, and I'm going to spend 15 hours doing it. Yep, that's what I'm telling you. Let's get on it.
Okay.
So to me, it's a matter of driving the value.
It's kind of like playing chess, and you make your move, but you keep your finger on it and look around. Let me double check and make sure, and then, okay, I'm good. I'll take my finger off my piece. No.
Exactly, but more importantly, it gets right candidly. I mean, I've been business owners at 15. It's hard, and it wears you out trying to stay ahead of this business cycle. That's where whenever you're going through value creation, it's not all about profitability. In fact, profitability actually ends up hurting value many times. I'll give you a case in point. It's not uncommon whenever someone comes to us and they'll say, hey, Justin, I'm 36 years old. I want to grow my business and sell it when I'm 45 years old. If I can just have this conversation this week. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go out and I'm going to increase my sales by 6 times. I went, great. You just decreased the value of your company. When the guy looked at me, he said, well, why? I said, because whenever you increase your sales by 6 times, you're actually increasing the company-specific risk of the throughput of your company, thus devaluing the company itself. So whenever you're trying to drive value, there's 2 metrics that increase value. And this is as simple as I can get it on an audio type recording. The first one is revenue. Revenue does matter. Yeah. The second one is the multiple effect, the multiple. In evaluation, the simplest way I can describe it using 7 different values into one little common sentence here is, let's say we have $100,000 in revenue, and the multiple of our business, because of the way it's structured, is 3. That means our sales price would be $300,000. So we can go out and drive revenue up to $200,000. We can double our throughput, double our systems, double our efforts, and go from $100,000 to $200,000. And yet we keep our multiple the same at 3. We've only increased from $300,000 to $600,000. Mm-hmm. However, if we could go in and not try to crank out more sales, but actually increase the throughput, increase the operational efficiency of the business, and by driving that multiple up from 3 to 6, we can actually hold our revenue static, drive efficiencies up inside the business, and still reach the same $600,000 value. And what ultimately happens, Mike, is that the business owner does both. They drive the multiple up while at the same time increasing profitability.
It sounds to me like, and I'm not a numbers guy, so my eyes kind of start glazing over, but what you just described sounds to me like, hey, I've got a house, I want to sell it, and you get the realtor to come out, and they go, oh, man, your house is wonderful, it could be priced at X, but if you put a coat of paint on this and you just trimmed up the curb appeal a little bit, it would be wham, way more. You don't need to add square footage, you don't need to renovate, you just need to do a little sprucing. In your example there's some things you can do inside the business that would increase that multiple so that when one other factor happens, now it's multiplied by a bigger number.
Correct. So look in your house example. What makes 2 houses on the same exact street, side by side, same exact square footage, be different in pricing? Typically, it's updates. Typically, it's the layout of the house. Typically, it could be aesthetic of the appeal of the landscaping, the kitchen, the bath. Yeah. Ultimately, you're changing the internal dynamics, which makes one house more valuable than the other. The same in the business. And what we do as business owners is we mess up. We go out and we say, hey, look, I want to increase my value, therefore I'm just going to go drive more revenue. And by driving more revenue, many times all you're doing is putting more traffic through the house, thus causing the house to drop in value even more.
Yeah, you got more dirty feet running through the carpet. Now the carpet looks horrible, and you show the house, and people are like, not so much. Well, driving more revenue, if you don't, it's like Marcus Lemonis on The Profit that talks about people and process. If you don't have the right people, you don't have the right process, then more revenue coming in or more orders or more sales coming in, it's just an implosion at that point. So, yeah, I really see your point on that. I see that's a really big point. Really good. I love your unique and fresh approach, because it is not just give me your money, Mr. Business Owner. Let's invest it in this. It's very deep and holistic, and that's the way that it should be done. Let's talk a little bit about your book. If someone were to buy your latest book, The Ultimate Sale, what is the biggest takeaway they're going to get from it?
The biggest takeaway you're going to get is that no matter where you're at in business today, okay, when I wrote The Ultimate Sale, did the audio book through Audible, when we did that, the biggest takeaway we tried to drive home is wherever you're at today, go ahead and plan your exit. Go ahead and start preparing your business for sale today.
Begin with
The goal
end in
whenever
mind.
we have it, as we business owners, the goal is to build our personal financial life and our business so that when our time comes that we want to try to dispose or transition that business, when it comes, that is prepared to meet the opportunity of a potential buyer. And so the takeaway is going to be, man, we business owners, let's get on it now. Let's start preparing our business for sale. You just never know what's going to happen. You may have somebody come off the street and say, hey, I want to buy your business, and it may not be worth what you think it's worth. Probably isn't, candidly.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, let's wrap up with this because I think that, like I said previously, we could probably talk for about 6.5 days on one topic or the other. But let's do this. If someone listening to this, it piqued their attention to go, you know what? Old Justin's got some unique knowledge. What's the best way they can reach out, connect with you, pick up a copy of your book, listen to your podcast, read your blogs?
Yeah, sure. So I would say check out Financially Simple. That's our education portal. We have all the podcasts, which is on every player out there. There's 300 episodes almost already on that particular channel, on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it. But if you check out Financially Simple, from there you can hop over to any of the type of other hubs that we have in our world.
Well, Justin, thank you so much for your time. It was wonderful talking with you. I love your knowledge base and your passion.
Brother, I appreciate you having me, Mike. Have a good one.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.